a lot of people would say like, well, wait a second, these buildings have like these gas burning things in them, like just ditch those suckers and put in heat pumps. Why not do that?
There's some practical realities that if we swapped out every one of those combustion assets, well, we probably don't have enough electricity. Electricity is quite a bit more expensive than natural gas, partially due to subsidies and partially due to the fact that we've not produced enough renewables. Sometimes even in New York, we'll have brownouts in the summer.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to have that until the grid is not just bolstered, but is enhanced by a significant amount of storage assets. There's also some real problems when you get to large cities where switching from a combustion asset to an electric asset, sometimes you can't actually do that. Like the heat pump systems would require a huge number of heat pumps to replace even a relatively small sized.
You physically don't have room for that.
Sometimes you physically don't have room.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you said something really interesting before we chatted here, which is, let's even assume we have some of those electrified assets. They aren't always zero emission either, particularly because of refrigerants, in the lines.
Yeah. Well, refrigerants we don't talk that much about. Refrigerant is the working fluid that allows you to take heat from one place and to move it somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's not a consumable, except if it's leaking.
Right.
And, we talk about different greenhouse gases, like 1 ton of CO2 is 1 ton of CO2. 1 ton of methane is like 84 tons of CO2.
Yeah.
1 ton of a refrigerant could be thousands of tons of CO2, like 3,000 tons, 4,000 tons. It's significant. We actually have a lot of air conditioning and heat pump units already deployed. Right. What do we do with all these assets that already exist?
Yeah.
As you cross the Rubicon from combusting on site to a fully electric building, you can't ignore the fact that direct emissions can include leakage.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be many, many thousands of tons of CO2 equivalent just from a refrigerant asset that is leaking.
So even in a fully electrified world, we still need this sort of real-time sensor capacity because, the other thing we discussed is sort of, the way people detect often leaks in refrigerant is just like, my AC isn't working as well as it used to. But at that point, you may have lost 50% of your refrigerant. It's gone. It's in the atmosphere. And you're saying, hey, if we actually put some real-time sensors on here, we can detect it when it's 1% leaking rather than 50%, which is a huge cost savings, a huge emission savings, and just feels like a better approach.
Yeah, I don't know as a civilization how we get to net zero and eventually net negative without knowing what's coming out of our tailpipes.